Warning: the following program contains coarse language, mature content, and is intended for an adult audience.
It's September 30th, 2015, and you are watching The Mike and Rob Show. Boy, oh boy. Let me tell you, I learned something about you just now. I've learned that you're an incredible risk taker. You make poor decisions because you're here with us today trying to watch what we're going to do here. This is a show about random nerd nonsense. We cover stuff in Winnipeg. We also cover stuff in the world at large. My name is Mike.
I'm Rob.
And here's our show. So there's not too much going on in Winnipeg here at the moment. There are a couple stories, though, that we thought we might want to cover. First one up was the lawsuit against Woody Harleson. Apparently there's a hemp farmer who was in a cooperative partnership with Woody and a couple of other Hollywood hippies to use the products of his farm for a project that he was working on that apparently has completely fallen through. So, as far as nonsense lawsuits go, this isn't the most nonsense lawsuit that there ever is, but the fact that it originated out of Winnipeg is kind of cool. We don't ever get
No, we don't sue celebrities very often here that I'm aware of.
No, I mean, we have a couple of celebrities of our own, obviously, but for people to reach out and touch someone in LA over something so silly, that seemed pretty cool to us. We'll have a link up to the story in the description for the videos, but we just thought it was kind of funny that Woody Harrelson was actually getting sued by someone here in the city. I guess the other big news, I guess the next big thing that's going to be coming up in the city for nerds in general, but also for just a lot of people, because it is literally the biggest cultural event that we run in the city, is C4 Comic-Con. So from now, the date of this taping, there's 29 days until the con runs, and I don't know, it sounds like it's going to be pretty good. What do you think, Robert?
I think it's going to be pretty fun. I was there a couple of years ago. I haven't been back since. A lot of the time when I go to a convention like that, I am driven crazy by nerds that get tunnel vision and lose any sense of decency or politeness as they wander around and indulge in their favorite things. They lose any sense that they ever had of behaving like normal people. But I'm really looking forward to bearing out and going to see the crowds and checking out the show and seeing the celebrities.
Yeah,
buying shit.
There's a lot of weird people here this year. So the guest list this year, we have Robert Picardo, who played the holographic Doctor on Voyager. We have Garrett Wang, who played Harry Kim on Voyager as well.
I believe that's correct.
And then Gates McFadden from Star Trek: The Next Generation, who played Dr. Beverly Crusher.
My favorite Doctor from that show.
The only Doctor that anyone ever remembers.
Pulaski, I remember the other one.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Oh my gosh. That she was only there for, I don't even remember how many years.
It was
she
like one season, and I think it was because of a contract dispute or something like that.
Gates McFadden was like, "Look, I can act. I don't have to be here." And Gary and Jake Busey are going to be here. Now, Jake Busey I kind of love from things like Starship Troopers and other movies like that. But Gary should be a hoot. I don't know. The session that he's in, you don't have to pay to go listen to him talk, but if you actually want to pay to do anything else, or if you want to do anything else with Gary and Jake, there are fees associated with it. If you go into Ticketmaster, they actually have a whole range of different packages and things that you can pay money for or whatever for this thing. So our plan this year, we're probably going to skip the Saturday and go to the actual Sunday event day or whatever, just to kind of check it out when it's a little bit more calm. 2 years ago when we went, we got in there very early on the Saturday, and around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, the entire lineup was out the door, and they were turning people away because there were too many people in the con. They weren't letting people in.
I was there the Saturday that year as well. The lineup was around the block. I remember waiting probably an hour and a half to be able to get in. To be frustrated.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, like we
Crazy.
really like the con. I mean, I like going to visit the artist more than anything else at these things. Like when I went to the San Diego Comic Con, it was the same thing. We kind of spent a lot of time with the actual comic book people, and not so much with the movie and the TV stuff. Although there were a lot of people there to do that. But I'm kind of looking forward to doing the same thing this year and just checking stuff out and see what it's going to be. But we're definitely going to cover it. We're going to actually bring our cameras in and take some videos of things that are going on and stuff, and try to give you some kind of idea of what the experience is like if you've never been there before.
Will Gary Busey know where he is?
I probably not. You know what? He's probably going to be there and he'll be like, "I think I'm in Las Vegas. Waiter, where's my drinks?"
I just think having to pay money to hear Gary Busey talk is crazy. You could just find out what hotel he's staying at, and I'm sure with a six of beer, you could probably listen to him until you were dead.
Or just,
I'm not even kidding.
Just knock on his door and he'll let you in. I mean, he's just that kind of guy.
He is just that kind of a guy.
So moving on to general nerd news, earlier in the week, we actually had a teaser trailer released for the new Jessica Jones television show. Now, this is the second show that Marvel has actually put together for Netflix. This is 2 of 4 that are coming out, and it's centered around an actual female protagonist. So we don't get very many shows in general where there's an actual a female lead and she's the linchpin for the show. But not only is this one of those shows, it's the first one that Marvel's ever done where there's a lead superheroine. They've done Agent Carter, which was very successful.
Loved Agent Carter.
Yeah, it was a great show. But she doesn't really have superpowers. She's more of the World War II SHIELD kind of heroine or whatever. But this is the very first one that actually has superpowers. So it should be interesting to see what they do. In the Daredevil show, they didn't really focus so much on the superhero part of it. Like he, kind of has powers, and they kind of subtly, show you what he can do or whatever, but there's no real explicit, like, Daredevil's punching his fist through walls and, he's lifting up cars or anything like this. Yeah, you can't do any of that in the comics, but you know what I mean? Like, there was nothing really obvious to kind of show that he was a hero, and it was very subtly done. In the teaser trailer, and we'll link that to the show notes in the description, she actually crushes things.
She's
just
really
straight up,
and
yeah.
resistant to damage. If I'm not mistaken.
It's interesting because her background in the comics is that she's another one of these radioactive wonders. Like, so she gets covered with radioactive substances. It kills her parents in the comics, and then she ends up becoming exactly. The parents always got to die in these things. Because who needs those, right? But she becomes superpowered, and she gets superhuman strength. She can fly. She's very impervious to damage, although she's not really sure whether or not she's all the way like bulletproof like some of these heroes or whatever. She kind of played like that. But in the comics, she actually plays a hero called Jewel, and then later she retires from that and comes back briefly as a heroine called the Nitress, I think was the name.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, so I mean, but she's a Hell's Kitchen hero, and she is... almost got an identical background to Daredevil in the sense of how they get their powers. They just get covered in goop, and literally she's able to do stuff. So when I first heard about the show, I wasn't sure whether or not they were actually going to go the full superheroine route, because I mean, her story is more about her being a private investigator than it is about her being an actual superhero. And the comics that are good with her in it are when she's running around solving mysteries, or she's running around like helping other people do things. So they could have done a show probably about that angle and had like occasional, glimpses of superheroes or whatever, and that would be fine. But it looks like they're going the full Monty with this, and they're letting her like beat the crap out of people and crush things. And so we'll see how it goes. I mean, the Daredevil show was quite dark and quite violent for something. The comic can be like that at times, like especially the Frank Miller runs of the book. But they went very adult, I guess, with it. So we'll see kind of
That's the direction they went.
Yeah, like sure. I mean, the tone that they're setting so far with this looks more like it's comedy than it is like super serious, which I'm hopeful for, because I think we need more of that on TV.
I'm super inclined to agree with you. I not only have a passing familiarity with Jessica Jones. I was roughly done reading Marvel Comics at the time when she came along. I don't understand why, when you get all these superpowers, private investigator is one of the top things on your list to do when you can, throw buses and punch through walls. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm excited about Kristen Ritter because I think she's an excellent actress. I loved her on Breaking Bad. I didn't see enough of the Bee in Apartment 23, but I understand she was very good in that as well. I'm looking forward to it here, though. This show does come out in November. It will be eclipsed so far as the superheroines go, because Supergirl will be coming out before then, and she will be the first lead female in this era to have her own show, not counting Linda Carter and Wonder Woman.
Of TV shows in general, for sure. But in terms of the Marvel stuff, though, this is like their first foray into it. Because I mean, if you really want to be technical about female leads in these shows, like we haven't had a DC show that's had a female lead, but they've had plenty of strong female actresses in there and playing in really critical roles in the show, which I think has been pretty progressive so far.
That's completely true. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be another great entry, and seeing how it all shapes up when they put it all together and show us the Defenders as, I believe it's the 5th entry into the Netflix series.
Basically, the way that it goes, this is show number 2 of 4 that they're releasing on Netflix. So the 3rd show is actually going to be about Power Man, Luke Cage, and the 4th show is going to be about Iron Fist. So I mean, those two were coupled together quite a bit in the comics, especially back in the 70s,
if I'm not mistaken, 70s and 80s.
And they're great characters, and the idea is that eventually all these 4 shows will lead into a 5th show called the Defenders. So I mean, if you follow the comics, the original Defenders comic was they took basically almost like the most powerful heroes that were in the Marvel Universe at the time. So it was like Silver Surfer, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and then just 2 random assholes like Beastman and Iceman, or whoever. They just throw whoever was available. It's like, what haven't we used in a while? We'll just throw those guys in there. And then that was the Defenders, and they went on crazy adventures. But in more modern tellings, like in the Ultimates and things like that, they've actually done a little bit different in terms of the lineup. So we'll see what happens, but it sounds like it's going to be a very New York, like Hell's Kitchen focused team and show. Like there's not going to be very much of the superpowers. It's just going to be a lot of street level stuff is what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Taking advantage of the setting that they established in Hell's Kitchen with Daredevil, I think is going to work really well. It worked very well for that show.
Oh yeah.
And the city played just as much a part as any of the characters did.
Yep.
And I think that is excellent. The backdrop of the fallout from the incident in New York, I thought worked really well. And I love the way it ties it all together. Even if it's loose and even if it seems like it's a little bit forced, it never really feels that way to me. I love the fact that it all feels like it is one big universe.
Yeah, like I mean, as much mileage as you can get out of a character like Daredevil. I mean, I know there's some people that really like the character, but I mean, he's not necessarily like a first stringer as far as Marvel is concerned, and in terms of people that were demanding movies. Well, I mean, you know, having said that, Ant-Man was a thing this summer, and he's not necessarily.
And it was a great thing this summer.
Yeah, and it was an amazing thing this summer, but he's not necessarily on anybody's top Marvel list either, and they managed to make something good out of him.
That's probably why it worked, because expectations were non-existent.
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, I remember the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, and that's about as much as I remember of Daredevil."
Nobody could salvage that movie.
Yeah, and then you get the quality job that they did on the show. I mean, the show had issues, and maybe we'll talk about that another time. But it definitely was a very great television show for something that could have been really terrible.
That's completely true. It could have totally gone off the rails. Thor could have totally gone off the rails. The directors in both cases managed to salvage it. I think that was really great stuff. What do you think so far as the Infinity Gems go? Is Jessica Jones going to have an Infinity Gem show up? We're still missing 2.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually going to introduce the last 2 in the television shows or not.
Probably not.
I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it's just going to be like sort of touching the continuity of the movies, but not necessarily involved in the movies at all.
Maybe
I mean, yeah,
Doctor Strange comes to her and wants her to find the time stone, which is missing currently.
Which that would be neat.
That would actually be amazing, but they'll never do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the Doctor Strange movie hits next year, so maybe there'll be a couple of gems in that. I don't know. I mean, they make more sense in a Doctor Strange setting than they do any of the other settings, anyways. But I mean, whether or not they actually go that route, I don't know.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah, so that's Jessica Jones coming up. I'm hoping you guys will tune in, but that's hitting in November.
Late November. That's going to be great. Looking forward to it.
So was it this week? I guess saw the release of a TV show called Limitless. Based
ABC?
on ABC, I think, but based on the 2011 Bradley Cooper movie. So
Didn't see it.
I vaguely remember it, but I mean, the basic premise, from what I understand, is that there's this dude, and he finds a pill, and he takes the pill, and then he becomes magical. And then, as part of being magical, apparently there are side effects.
Lucy.
Yeah, like it's like the movie Lucy, where she's using 100% of her brain. He uses 100% of his, and he goes on adventures. Eventually, he figures out a way to not have to use the drug, and he runs for Senate, and everything's awesome. So, television show, interestingly enough, takes place in the continuity of the movie, where Bradley Cooper is actually in the show playing his original role.
I'll bet that was expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there like every episode or whatever, how much it costs to get Bradley Cooper on a thing.
Samuel Jackson wasn't on every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I doubt it.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're probably not going to fork out for this guy past this. They just needed it for the, oh yeah, that was the thing factor. So, but he actually reprises his role as the newly elected senator for a new loser who finds this drug and can do amazing things, but the drug has side effects and everything else, and blah, 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 blah. From what we understand with the show, though, what they've done is they've taken this, kind of neat concept, and they've rolled it into the same kind of show format as about 20 million other shows. Because at some point in the show, the FBI figure out, of course, because the FBI figures out everything, that this guy is like...
Not on the following, they didn't.
They've following, you know what? Those agents were useless, and they should be fired.
Yes, they should be.
But in this case, yeah, like the FBI figure out he's Superman, and they're like, hey, what if we hire this guy and he can help us solve crimes and go on adventures? And so it just becomes like every other, like Bones and Castles and Numbers and Sherlock and Elementary and
Mentalist,
Psych, Chuck, yeah, everything. Like, so it's the same basic pattern where you have like a super talented person who has crazy, beyond the scope abilities, working with normal humans, solving crimes, and then that's
with someone that they're sleeping with.
Well, maybe, or yeah, it could be a potential love interest. We're not sure, but it's interesting that that's kind of the with all of the, I guess, limitless potential. You see what I did there? That was the best that they could come up with for a series. So I mean, I don't know. Are you gonna watch this one? Is this gonna be one that's gonna?
There's pretty much no chance.
The veto button just down. That's it.
I can't even see it. I mean, maybe if it gets nominated for something at the end of the season, but the formula is so overdone, as we've seen with that entire list. I think those are all CBS shows.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's basically...
No, thank you.
I
just don't
like,
see it as being a legitimate
I heard about the show, and
contribution.
it's like, this was my interest level. It's like, okay, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then it was like, yeah, and he takes his pill, and he, like, it becomes, like, super brainiac. Oh, tell me more. And then it's like, oh, and then he goes on crazy adventures, and he does things. Oh, tell me more. And then he works for the cops. Oh.
Exactly.
And then that was the end of it
What's
for
the
me.
point?
So I don't know. I might pick it up if it ever comes to Netflix, like, and binge watch it or whatever. But I don't know if this is going to be one I'm going to add to my small little weekly television.
There's so much good stuff
whatever.
coming up in the fall schedule for us.
Yeah, like, honestly, television-wise, it's just an embarrassment of riches this season. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I don't know. Limitless, I don't know if this is going to be one that you're going to want to check out. But I don't know. If you enjoyed the movie and you want to see the over-under and play a drinking game with your friends about how long Bradley Cooper actually lasts as part of the cast, I'm thinking it's just going to be this episode. So if you want to bet against me, you know what? Yeah, someone can write us in, and we'll start a betting pool on that. Because my guess is he's not going to show up. Maybe he'll do they'll just do a voice thing where he just is on the phone with his protege, the other loser that takes the drug now, and just phones him up every once in a while. Hey, I see what you did there, and then that's
kind of like how they put Danny DeVito back into The Simpsons as Unky Herb.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. It would just be like a different character altogether.
They actually advertised it that way, and oh yes, of course, Unky Herb's going to be back, and then they just used a voicemail recorded by him. It was completely awful.
It wasn't actually anything. Yeah, it was just
DeVito. Did I get the name right?
Yeah.
Okay, that is good. Because that wasn't good.
No. Well, yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but honestly, it's like you said with S.H.I.E.L.D., they didn't actually keep Nick Fury in it at all. Like, no. He's mentioned quite a bit. They name drop him all the time, but
he's a big part of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, they just kept it as a cast of nobodies.
Well, he showed up. He told Agent Coulson not to destroy his plane.
Yeah, don't wreck my plane!
Roll the credits. That's all that happened to Samuel L. Jackson.
I don't want no motherfucking bombs on this motherfucking plane.
And it would have been way better if they
takes his eye patch off and then cut. Done. Yeah, so I don't know. They brought in the lovely Kyle MacLachlan on S.H.I.E.L.D., though, so I mean, I can't complain.
Kyle MacLachlan is absolutely fantastic. What a wonderful actor. He completely owned his role last season. I'm looking forward to this season, although I don't suspect we're going to see him very often at all.
I don't know, yeah. Who knows what? Like, I mean, right now, from what I understand, completely going on a different segue here, Twin Peaks is shooting again. There's going to be a new Twin Peaks miniseries.
They restarted the project again?
Yeah, it is on and it is filming. I have a friend that's actually on the set right now doing some film interviews and journalism stuff with them. And they are... because they are filming right now, I'm wondering if Kyle MacLachlan is actually involved with that. He was rumored to be involved with the actual shoot and in the project. And in the case of Twin Peaks, it takes place 25 years after the original show, like exactly 25 years after the real show aired. Like, this is actually 25 years of real time. They're not just time speeding things up. So the actors that they're bringing back to actually act in these roles are all how they would have been 25 years after the show aired or whatever. So yeah, and it's Dale Cooper. I mean, at the end of season 2, he ends up getting possessed by Bob, and that's how they leave it. And so, I mean, how they actually resolve that over the 25-year arc, I don't know. But anyways, full circle, back to Limitless. You might not want to check that out. If you want to play your Bradley Cooper appearance game, give us an email at mikeandrobshow@gmail.com, and we'll go from there.
Another big news bit that came up, Jennifer Lien, I think I'm pronouncing her name right.
I think so.
Who played Kes on Star Trek Voyager, a show I didn't make it all the way to the end of. I loved Star Trek. I watched every iteration of it. I gave up on DS9 partway through. Voyager, I made it as far as the episode where they found Amelia Earhart in the Delta Quadrant, and I stopped cold turkey on the spot because I thought it was the dumbest thing that was ever committed to TV by Paramount. It was absolutely awful. I have no idea how it ended. I don't know if they got home. I don't know if they were all killed. I'm not even kidding. Kes was the sidekick of Neelix, another character that I couldn't stand. He was the entertainment director.
He was like
he was like Julie from...
the cook or whatever, yeah, okay, We got no from our producer saying...
He was the cook, he was not the entertainment director. Either way, none of those people would have had a table with all of the officers on the Love Boat, never mind
Yeah,
Voyager.
exactly.
I thought it was ridiculous. One interesting aspect to her character, though, was that she was very short-lived. Her species was short-lived. And just like her career, which ended prematurely, and she was arrested just not all that long ago. You can see her here when she first appeared on the show. My producer's going to insert that for me. And she looked lovely. And now when you look at her mugshots, I would have lost a bet if you had told me this was the same woman. She was flashing minors, her tits, in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
Over some incident with, I don't even know what it was exactly.
It was a neighborhood dispute basically that was happening, and I don't know if she was on something when it happened. It's kind of looks like she was.
Look at her.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is just it's crazy how fast you can have a career and then just descend into complete batshit madness.
It is truly unfortunate.
She was on a network television show. She was on, I think, 2 seasons. Then she was off for a little bit because the way that her character arc went, she evolved into something else, and then in her evolved form, she comes back later in the run of the show and does some stuff. I'm like you. I didn't watch all of Voyager. I know we're breaking our producers' heart here. It's like we're not like the biggest Voyager fans on the planet. I liked it okay, but the fact is,
was hot.
Maybe. I don't know. But the fact is that she was on a major network show that was actually getting ratings and everything else, and then once that ended, or her role on it ended, then things just kind of got worse and worse.
I'm not sure if she found anything to do.
No,
after
I mean,
Voyager
like
came to an end.
Looking her up on Wikipedia and some of the other stuff, it didn't seem like she did very much acting wise. Like she took some time off. She was arrested in 2012 before this latest incident that happened for similar just crazy space madness, and that's what it is. I mean, she was in space. It is space madness that she's suffering from apparently. 2015 though, they just recently, she was arrested for doing all this crazy horrendous stuff in front of children. So I don't know. I mean, it's sad because the show itself was like probably one of the most innocent things ever in terms of the stories and the things that the cast were able to do and stuff. And I mean, in terms of building a career, it probably would have been a very respectable platform to just go on to other shows or be a guest character. Like some of the other actors that were going to be here in Winnipeg for Comic-Con went on to do guest starring roles in like tons of shows. Like Robert Picardo's been everywhere and he's done stuff on stage, he's done stuff whatever. Harry Kim, same way, he's a big stage actor, but it's a matter of I guess I don't know. I think
a lot of them do voice work as well.
Yeah,
That's
like I think
career option.
I can't remember all the different things that he's done, but you're right. Like with Robert Picardo, he's actually done quite a bit of stuff. But it's I mean, she just couldn't actually get that going. I guess I don't know, but it's
unfortunate when it happens.
It's just fucking bizarre. Like I mean, you when you look at the final picture, the final mugshot of her from just recently, it doesn't even look like the same person. It looks like someone who's been just had the crap completely beat out of them by life. So I don't know. So it's very sad news, but it is something worth talking about because holy cow, what a difference!
How you can fall off the radar like that from something as big as Star Trek. I don't understand how someone like that doesn't wind up on the convention circuit unless they don't want to be, because she could do it.
I'm wondering, I'd like to maybe go back and take a look. I don't know, maybe if you guys out there know anything about this, whether or not she was actually one of the guests that could actually sign autographs and everything else. Because it seems like everybody else that's ever been on the show does this for a living
of course,
at one point.
It's Star Trek. It doesn't matter if you weren't even on stage. You could have been the best boy or a key grip. And you could sign autographs.
Yeah, exactly. You could be an autographer or whatever with everybody.
I told you about the time I was in Denver?
No, tell me. Tell me stories.
We went to the Star Wars Celebration, which was an absolutely wonderful experience. This was not long after the Columbine shooting and not long before The Phantom Menace was released in theaters. It was the first Star Wars Celebration ever. At my hotel, there was a guy that was there who claimed, people seem to believe him, that he was the Jawa that shot R2-D2 in A New Hope. And he was signing autographs for $30 a piece, saying that he was this Jawa.
Well, how do we get in on this action? We got to be able to fake something. I was the key grip on Attack of the Clones.
It doesn't matter. The fans of these shows, and of course I'm a fan too, love seeing the people that had anything to do with them. So, as you said, it's truly unfortunate that she wasn't able to wind up doing something substantial.
Yeah, like even
just to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm guessing that she must have just made the choice not to do that because I can't imagine that she wouldn't have had the opportunity because there are people who are on the show like for less time than her and on different Star Trek shows for like even just one episode that have managed to parlay that into a career of sorts. So I mean, I don't know if she just decided to take a break. Because,
Ashley Judd.
Yeah, exactly. Like just so many people.
Ensign Robin Leffler. I remember her very well.
She was trying to get into Starfleet Academy with Wesley Crusher, right?
And she was trying to get into Starfleet Academy and Wesley Crusher's pants.
Oh.
It was 2 episodes.
That's
I remember her. She was gorgeous. It's weird, though, because when that episode came out, I believe Ashley Judd was younger than me. She's now way older than me. I don't understand how that works. I swear there's about a 30-year difference between then and now, at least for her. And I've only aged like 20.
Wow, you're magic.
I just age normally. I think this could be a relativistic thing due to warp travel, but I'm not entirely sure.
Wow. Because they're really in space. They shot it in space, kids. It's all real. It's not a television show. It's a documentary.
Just like the Terminator documentaries.
Just like Terminator. It's coming. It's happening. Prepare yourself now.
Skynet.
Another big thing that happened on television this week was the return of the Muppet Show. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but Robert, you were all up in.
I was definitely all up in. It was everything that I thought that it was going to be. Having the Muppets back on television is great as far as I'm concerned. I always liked the Muppets and Fraggles growing up, and for me, nothing has really changed. We talked, of course, about there being more adult content in this, and it's only jokes that are going to go over kids' heads, just like watching episodes of Sesame Street.
So what do you think that this is a show that like both kids and adults can enjoy, or is it mostly like written for adults this time around?
It's definitely written for adults, but because you have the presence of Muppets, I'm pretty sure kids are going to be able to endure half an hour of it and be completely entertained regardless. The premise is cool. Miss Piggy has a late night talk show, and all of the Muppets are the production crew for that late night talk show. She's the top of the heap. She's Queen Bitch as she's always been, and has everyone under her thumb, and she rules with an iron fist. Kermit has to live with this in their post-abusive relationship. He's now dating another younger, thinner pig on the show, and that, of course, is a source of tension and drama for the two of them, as you might expect. Jer Burns plays a significant role. He is the father of a young human girl that Fozzie Bear is dating. Jer Burns, I loved him from Justified. He's a fantastic actor. My wife and I have always joked about how his eyebrows deserve a show of their own, and it couldn't be more appropriate that his eyebrows wound up on the Muppets, because that's truly what they look like.
So he's wearing a Muppet right on his forehead, just
two
naturally.
of them,
That's
in fact,
fantastic.
and it's absolutely wonderful. I would recommend it for anyone that did enjoy the Muppet Show. Not that there's any sense of continuity, but it should be just as enjoyable as you remember it being, in my opinion.
See, I kind of, I don't know, like I didn't really get excited when I heard about it, because I was really thinking that, you know, it's okay to leave stuff from my childhood back in my childhood and not necessarily have to keep on redredging and redigging up all these old fossils. Like, I don't get excited about things like, you know, the Transformer movies or, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything like that. Even though, you know, those were things that were around when I was younger, I think it was okay for me just to say, you know what, this is something I enjoyed when I was a kid. I don't necessarily need to participate in it now. But from what I understand, I mean, this is kind of a different animal. Like, I mean, as much as, I guess, the Muppet Show...
Animal!
Yeah, a different kind of animal, no pun intended. As much as this is a show that's kind of more geared towards adults, I mean, the original Muppet Show was kind of like that too. Like,
it really was.
You had mentioned that to me, and I'm like, you know what? I'll go back and I'll watch some of the old episodes. And yeah, you know what? There's a lot of humor, especially when they bring in the guest stars, like some of the actors and people that they bring on or whatever. Some of the things that they were able to get away with were actually pretty good. But it's I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'll check this one out or not. But it's good to hear that they're actually doing something clever with it. Like, how was the writing? Like, did you find
the writing was okay. It was passable. I thought it was a real achievement doing it as a single camera comedy. I have to imagine that's no easy feat, because I'm fairly confident the Muppet Show itself was shot as multicam, just a sound stage and cam surrounding. But this, of course, reads just like Arrested Development, or I'm trying to think of some other single camera comedies.
Like The Office, and
The Office is another excellent example. Modern Family is another example of the single camera comedy, and I always think that those work really well. No laugh track.
Oh, perfect.
So you're forced to fill in the blanks, and it actually does need to be genuinely funny to get the laughs that it does. It doesn't prompt you like The Big Bang Theory. Please laugh at Penny making a joke about dog food or whatever's happening.
Where the laugh track actually makes it into parts where there aren't actually jokes being played, as in The Big Bang Theory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine it's very challenging shooting a show like this, single camera with puppets. It can't be easy.
No, yeah.
So
I
did respect that aspect of it.
It seems like they're putting money into it. Like, I mean, it isn't going to be one of these things where they're just exploiting the license so much. Like, it looks like they're making a real run at making a show. So, I mean, I can respect that. I mean, I don't know if I'm, like, super excited about it, but a lot of people that I know saw it, and they were like you. They really enjoyed it. They thought it was a really well-done effort.
We'll see where they end up. It's only one episode in.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we're going to be... It's a deluge of choice now for the next month and a bit. And I know we had this discussion at work, but we're talking about peak television, or the idea that there's actually
concept of peak television.
Yeah, there's too many shows for you to be able to watch everything in a normal lifetime. Now, it's not even just like a normal, you know, your 3 hours of television or your week or your month. It's like, okay, you've got X number of years to live. This is how much television there is. How much can you actually watch, and what should you be watching? So, you know...
Don't worry, we'll tell you.
Yeah,
what it is that you need to be watching.
We'll give you some recommendations on things we like, but yeah, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, like for a medium that you know, all through the '90s and the early aughts was kind of hit and miss with regards to quality.
To the tail end of the '90s.
Yeah, like there's so many good shows now, and I don't know. I mean, whether or not this is one I check out, I don't know, but it's just cool that they're making it. I guess, you know, like it's cool that they're actually putting their best college try into getting this thing off the ground.
I think 17 years now approximately into the golden age of television, the current golden age of television. It started with Oz.
Yep.
And it's worked all the way through on both network and cable TV. Oz and The Sopranos, many will point to as where it began.
The Wire, there's all kinds of
Exactly.
great shows that kind of convinced people that television was worth taking a risk on with regards to acting, because that was the big thing, right? Like, you couldn't get good actors on television because everybody used to think, well, if I'm in movies and I go on TV, my movie career is over. But now
not true anymore,
television is what they do when they don't want to do movies anymore, and then they go back to movies just as easily. Like, so you get people like some of the cast members on some of the shows that are coming up are just, it's insane the quality that they're actually putting
Life
out.
in
Like,
Pieces had an
Yeah.
incredible cast. I saw the very beginning of it yesterday after I watched. What was it that we watched? I'm trying to remember. It was the very tail end of it, and the cast is absolutely ridiculous. He played Dan on The Newsroom. Thomas Sadowski.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he's in it. I'm trying to remember some of the other actors on the show. There's so many good ones.
Where's the
couldn't
internet
even-
when you need it?
I couldn't even begin to name them all. But that, I thought was a fine example. With 4 complete stories, it looks like it's cribbing heavily and veering into Modern Family's lane. But there's probably still a lot of room
Yeah,
for a
there's,
show
there's
like
you
that
know
to
what,
exist.
it's fine. I think you're going to have some duplication in some of the formats and the venues and the ways that these shows are shot or whatever. But I mean, as long as the stories are good, who cares? You know what? If it's something that you like, then definitely go after it. But it's just so great that we have so many choices now.
Formula works for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's executed well, it's obviously
Yeah, it's fun. You know what?
It's obviously
it's good.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Fear the Walking Dead has almost finished its first season run. Only 6 episodes. I know I've liked it. I know you're on board for
Yeah.
the show at this point, which surprised me considering you're very lukewarm towards original recipe Walking Dead.
The Amelia Earhart moment that you had with Voyager was the, hey, there's a grenade in my backpack moment from season 1 of The Walking Dead. I mean, as soon as that happened, I was like, you know what? I'm out. That's it. It's done. I have no patience for this tomfoolery. So I never really watched the rest of the show. I have read the comics, and the show has deviated a fair amount from the comics. They've hit a lot of the major beats, but I found with the comic that really it just became like the television show ER in the end, where it was all just tragedy. Like, it didn't matter what the characters did. They could never get ahead. And I know that's kind of the point of the show. It's like, yeah, the humans are the Walking Dead, and, you know, we don't ever use the word zombies because we're too pretentious, and, we don't have
George
to worry
Romero
about...
doesn't exist in our
Yeah,
universe.
George Romero, fuck that guy. I don't know. I didn't get into it. So coming into this, I've actually been pretty clean with regards to my experience with this television show. So Fear the Walking Dead, to me, has been a real treat. Like, honestly, the pacing and the tension that they're able to set up with just, like, we've hit 5 episodes, 5 of 6 was
right.
just this weekend. And it was amazing. Like, honestly, I can't wait to see how they're going to resolve everything. And the show apparently has done well enough now that they've already got a second season for it. So
They booked 15 episodes.
Something
I think
like
it
that,
was.
yeah,
A
so-
very large number.
So they're basically going to do like the same pattern that the original Walking Dead followed, which is the 6 episodes minus the hand grenade, and the second season ends up being like way longer or whatever. So it's kind of good news. In between though, like I don't know, like we used to watch Battlestar Galactica, and one of the big things that Ron Moore used to do is on the off seasons or whatever, he'd shoot like 20 or 30 of these web mini episodes dealing with certain aspects of the show or whatever. He'd make up a whole bunch of characters that would be in these little web episodes that you could watch, and it would kind of enhance your experience for coming into the next season or whatever. So something to do in between seasons that didn't cost them a lot to make. It looks like that Fear the Walking Dead is doing the same thing. They have a show out now. It's supposed to be released sometime in October called Flight 462, and it looks like there was a scene earlier on in Fear the Walking Dead where there's a plane that looks like it's about to lose control or whatever. And my feeling is that
third episode.
yeah, so my feeling is that it's going to switch to that's what the web show is going to be. It's going to be like the crew of the plane and what happens to them or whatever. So obviously someone turns on the plane.
It'll be
and
zombies on a plane.
It's motherfucking zombies on this motherfucking plane.
Samuel
and there's
Jackson
not going to
will be there.
He won't be there though, and that's the problem. And that's why the plane crashes. There's not going to be nobody.
Because there's no Samuel L. Jackson.
There's no
on
Samuel L.
board.
Jackson. They're all fucked, and the plane is going to crash. So I mean, I just basically spoiled the entire miniseries, even though I haven't seen it. This is going to be the result. But
That's webisodes, is that right?
yeah, so that's full circle back to what I was talking about with Battlestar. This is going to be a web-only episode
They've
series.
done that already. They did it with The Walking Dead initially
That's right,
too,
yeah.
with the story of the bicycle girl, and I remember a story about a mother sacrificing her life to zombies so her children could get away. It was very, very dark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do recall it.
The thing with these shows is that like the comic is so. The shows have been kind of hit and miss. Like I've heard, I didn't watch a lot of the previous seasons. I've watched episodes here and there, but friends have told me that the show has had quite a few peaks since the first season. Like there's been a lot of great.
It definitely has. It has steadily improved
Okay.
since. I want to say somewhere around the midpoint of season 3. I'll break it down for you. Season 1 was actually very good. The pilot was outstanding. I think you would even agree that the pilot of the show was very good.
I went back because I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I should give the original a chance again. So I've actually been watching the first season again. I haven't gotten to the fucking grenade part yet, but I'm about 3 episodes in. And
Vatos is episode 4, and it's terrible.
Yeah, the first episode though is really good. Like you said,
is.
like I mean, it's the whole waking up after being in a coma thing was done, I think, better in 28 days later.
I believe that's right.
Yeah, and that was like a really effective way to do things. Like just him walking around, the main character walking around in that show in deserted London was very eerie. Atlanta, I don't know, didn't have the same effect. But at the same token, they actually showed a lot of the devastation as a part of this whole zombie that we can't call zombies thing that happened or whatever. Zombies. So yeah, I don't know. I might give it a chance and actually like power watch all the way through till like catch up till season 6, which is premiering.
It ended on a good note. Noah Emmerich, one of my favorites from the Americans, he appears in the final episode of season 1 as the doctor at the CDC.
Right.
Great actor. The first half of season 2 is slow and insufferably awful for its pacing. It ends on a huge note. The back half of season 2 was quite good.
Okay.
The front half of season 3 was quite good. The second half of season 3 is awful. And then after that, it took off. Seasons 4 and seasons 5 were one better than the next. For both, and very well done. It was so smartly paced, so sharply written. They brought a lot into focus. They stopped with turning Rick into a weird character with different dimensions to his personality that didn't fit what they were trying to do with the show.
Okay.
I thought it was awful. It was just insufferable to watch. He turns into a farmer, decides he wants to lead a pacifist existence, is kind of my read that I got off of it.
Oh.
It didn't really work at all. Now everyone loves Rick because he is the unforgiving, consummate, killing badass like was depicted in the comics, to the point where I hope it kind of mirrors Breaking Bad in that he is so willing to kill and so willing to take decisive violent action that you might go, hold on just a minute, that's a little much for the situation that we're dealing with here. Almost no shred of humanity left in him anymore, out of desire to protect those that are around him and trust him.
Yeah, see, maybe that makes sense then, because we saw some trailers for season 6. They're actually starting to promote that now.
It looks good.
It premieres on October 11th. And there's one character that he meets in season 1 that miraculously is back in season 6 and is warning everybody that they need to watch out for Rick. So I'm kind of wondering if that's what it's about, that he's realized that Rick has turned into...
Morgan.
I guess, yeah, because he meets him in the first episode, right? It's the family he stays with when he first is wandering around or whatever.
You also saw the character once in what would have been the second best episode of the series at the time, and I think it was season 4. Rick, Michonne, and Carl travel back to Rick's and Carl's hometown to go get supplies, and they run into Morgan, and it was actually one of the best episodes of the show. Completely phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember the name of the actor offhand that plays him. He's Lenny. I cannot think of it offhand. It doesn't matter.
Damn it, where's our internet?
But they also follow his arc throughout season 5 as a secondary story. And they tie it all together at the end of the season.
Nice.
That's why you see what you've seen in the trailers leading into season 6. So if you can swallow your pills and take your medicine and get to the point where you make it to season 4, it should be pretty smooth sailing for you, I think. If you're liking the Fear of the Walking Dead at this point, you will probably like what they're doing with The Walking Dead in its most recent, would it be 32 episodes? But yeah, it would be 16 and 16.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, it's a commitment, but I mean, I don't know. You know what? It's not that difficult once you have all of the things in one place. Like Netflix just released season 5. I got that in my email or whatever. Yeah, so season 5 is actually on Netflix now. So I don't know. Maybe we're checking out for me, but I really enjoyed Fear the Walking Dead. I really enjoyed the characterizations. I really enjoyed the mounting tension and the glimpses that you're getting, and how the government is actually failing, and kind of the things that they're having to do to try to contain things, and how they're basically like there's just so many good things that I wish they had put into the original comic or the original show that they're getting a chance to do here. So I don't
think
know.
Kirkman was capable of it.
I don't know. You know what? I've heard that in real life he's kind of a knob. And I mean, comic-wise, I really enjoyed Invincible, his other comic, more than I did Walking Dead. But The Walking Dead, after a certain point, like I just couldn't read it anymore. Like there's I don't know if we have like a spoiler sign or a spoilers finger or whatever, but there's a part in the comics where he wastes a major character for no reason other than just he could prove that he could do it. You know, like it was issue 100 of The Walking Dead or whatever.
Yes,
and after this, I'm just like, what are you even thinking? What is this book even about? Like, can you go another 100 episodes of just people basically having their lives ruined by this.
That's
and then
that's the problem when your only currency is misery. That's the only game you can play.
Yeah, which is, I don't know.
That part of it is unfortunate.
After a while, you know what? I kind of just want to see, like, well, you know, maybe they run into a group that's trying to fix the problem. Maybe they run into like a bigger society that's organized, and they make it more about, you know, like there's a big social unit that's trying to kind of fight back against the zombies or something. You know, like some direction that's just not random wandering and meeting people who are promising they're going to do that, and then are big liars in the end. I think they did that arc in the television show, but I don't know. I'm hopeful that Fear the Walking Dead will continue to be excellent, and I'll probably check out the normal Walking Dead as well. But
it should be.
We'll have links to the trailers for the upcoming web series as well as season 6 in the show notes below.
Yeah, definitely excited about the Fear the Walking Dead, getting to see the zombie apocalypse unfold. How does something overcome civilization when it seems that the military have a pretty good grasp of what's going on? So I'm very curious to see how they're going to play this out in the final episode next week as Operation Cobalt goes into effect.
Yeah, it should be awesome. So once we actually see that episode, we'll talk about it here for sure.
We will. I've only worn it a few times, but isn't that just a great pop culture mashup?
I hate all this shit, honestly.
Oh, fuck, here we go. Somebody call the ambulance.
There's going to be times in this show where I bitch and moan or cry about things, and this is going to be one of those times. So my question today is, how much money do I got to fucking spend to keep my nerd cred
How much
intact?
do you have?
Apparently, that's the answer. How much money do you have? Because you can spend it all. You know, to a degree, nerd culture has always had a consumer component. Like even back in the dark old days when I was a kid, original Star Trek series, Space 1999, the original Batman series, there's always toys that you could buy and everything else. And
$6 Million Man.
Yeah, like all of these
action
things had
figures for
stuff
Star
that,
Wars.
there was always things to buy for these things, right? And, you know, a lot of the time it was geared more towards the kids than it was collectors, but there was collecting scene, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to pick on collectors with this thing, but it just seems like there is so much shit that's being made, and then they're taking advantage of the fact that being nerds, we don't necessarily get catered to very often, and the feelings of I guess being included or actually being part of the real world and having all these people interested in what you have to say and the money that you're spending, I think is maybe clouding people's minds a little bit. The example, I guess, that's happened most recently for me, where I just went, "What the fuck is going on?" Was Force Friday. So we had this thing that happened.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
was celebrating episode 7, which does look remarkable.
Yeah, which does look remarkable, but it's
toys.
Yeah, exactly, but it's not even out yet. Like it could. This is the thing that fucking kills me. Okay, so people could line up at midnight at various toy stores, and we didn't have this in Winnipeg. Actually, what they did instead was they had the Lego store open early for you to actually go in and be able to get some of the stuff. But in various cities across North America, you could actually line up ahead of time at like Toys R Us and whatever, and you get the first crack at being able to buy toys for this new Star Wars movie that's coming out, The Force Awakens.
They did this when I was at the Star Wars Celebration. We actually drove past one of the Walmart stores, I think it was, at about 2 in the morning for the sake of checking out the lineup for the unbelievable plethora of Jar Jar Binks shit that was going to be available the next day.
Yeah, and when that's the thing, like, people weren't even lining up to get exclusive things. They weren't lining up to get rare things, like, you know, because I get collecting, okay? Like, I'm not going to shit on collectors. Like, I get that if you're a person who's actually into the collecting part of things, like, that there's always going to be some excitement about a new toy getting released, whatever, fine. But these people were lining up to buy things that were basically just going to be on shelves the next day. They were basically being marketed to as being like, oh, you know, we're going to have this event. You better come out and spend money. Buy. And there was no advantage to doing it at all. We went to Walmart the next night, and all of the things that people were on Twitter complaining about, and there were fucking thousands of these people that were like, they didn't have like the black box Star Wars figure that I wanted, and they only had 2 Lego sets, and blah, 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 my life's ruined, blah, blah, blah. They had everything. We went into the Walmart the next day, and they had every single possible thing that all these people were bitching about not being able to get. And at one point, you just have to like step back and go, what the fuck are you even doing? These toys are fun, I guess, but I mean, they're for something that you don't even know what it is. Like, legitimately, no one really knows what this movie's going to be. Like, I mean, yeah, you know Star Wars and you know the elements, but this movie could be a flaming pile of dog shit. And here you are with your stack of things celebrating the flaming pile of dog shit, basically having spent, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars on all this stuff. The budget that Lucasfilms, or I guess Disney in this case, set for production for the toys was $3 billion. $3 billion of merchandise was pumped into stores, and sales have been very good for them. So basically what you've done is you've completely subsidized this piece of shit movie. It could be the best movie that's ever been made. I'm hopeful that it's going to be good. But stepping back a sec, you know, all these people want is your money. They're marketing to you because they know as a nerd, you're not necessarily the person that gets the attention. You're not necessarily the person that people are wanting to market their things to. And now all of a sudden, you're like the superstar. They realized that at some point in the late aughts, they realized that nerds have money. And it's just been this constant onslaught of garbage. And it's, to me, it just seems like there's a big disconnect between liking something like a property like Star Wars or, Doctor Who or whatever, and the actual merchandising and the stuff that's around it. Because, I mean, how much stuff do you have to buy to prove that you like something? Like, how much stuff do you is reasonable to actually accumulate? Well, and that's the thing. Like, for a lot of people, they collect every single little tiny knickknack of thing that gets released, and they spend all these dollars. And I don't understand. Like, we've gone from kind of having marginal interests compared to the rest of the world with regards to what we like and the stories we like to tell and everything else, to being so mainstream that every store has got this nerd shit. And at one point, like, when do we stop being flattered by these people and we kind of wake up and go, well, why are we doing this? Like, why are we spending so much money on all of this garbage? Again, I'm not going to crap on people that do, like the toy collecting thing. I'm not going to crap on people that, have really large collections of these different things. But, I mean, the last example I guess I'll give before I quit my crying for today is Game of Thrones. So the books were out way before the television show. And for fans of the books, there was nothing. You couldn't buy Games of Thrones toys. You couldn't get anything. You could get the books. And you can go to George R. R. Martin's website and you can read about him blogging about food, because that's what he likes to do. He likes putting recipes on the fucking internet.
It's fairly obvious he likes to eat.
And as soon as the first season of the television show came out, you could buy everything Game of Thrones. There's fucking Game of Thrones, like, I've lost my will to live blankets that you can wear around yourself on your couch now. Like, you can actually get these things at Spencer's Gifts.
Winter's coming.
Like Snuggies, they're called, or whatever. Like, the ones that make you look like you're a cult member. You can buy Game of Thrones Snuggies. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. Like, yes, you know what? The television show owns the rights to be able to market all this stuff, and HBO makes a lot of money. And yes, we want to support HBO. But at one point, it should be about liking the thing that you are involved with. It shouldn't just be a separate cultural event to spend money and buy all this garbage, in my opinion. But I don't know.
That makes sense. I think the hysteria bothers you not more than the collecting does.
No, yeah, the collecting is fine, but I mean, it's just the sheer amount of people and different products and different companies that are just vying for your attention in this space now. Like, it was kind of neat at first because it's like something that was really obscure. Now all of a sudden everybody's got a product for it, and it's like you kind of feel like the thing that you like has become mainstream, and maybe you're getting more accepted by the society at large for the weird shit that you like, right? Like, because I mean, some of these shows, Doctor Who is very popular now.
It is.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, when they were first watching Doctor Who back in the 70s and 80s, that shit was weird as fuck, and you couldn't actually talk about it because they'd be like, Doctor what the fuck are you even talking about? And now, like, the show has catapulted to the point where people can buy a Doctor Who TARDIS and put it on their lawn, or like whatever.
Yes,
like
they can.
And these are things that are easily recognized in the pop culture landscape. So I mean, I guess bully for the fans for bringing the show back to such an effect, but I mean, look what's happened. You've basically now become like, you got the attention of companies that like to make things, and now they're flattering you by making every single thing that you could possibly imagine to purchase. But at one point, you have to kind of, I think, step back and just go, you know what, that's it. It's
Nerd
over.
culture went mainstream.
Yeah, basically.
That is a huge part of what's happened here, without a doubt. They're not just toys for kids anymore.
No. Well, I mean, there's an argument to be made that maybe they should be, but I mean, again, I get it with the collecting. I'm not going to crap on that. But the idea that, we have to buy all these things just to participate in the nerd culture, it's like the buying almost is like a separate activity from actually enjoying the show itself. Like, people who collect and people who, like, are really into a thing now have all this other stuff that they can talk about that has absolutely nothing to do with the show. It's just shit that sits on your shelf. Like, it's not, I don't know, like, I don't get the culture very much at all in that regard. Like,
I've seen your bookshelf.
Yeah, I mean, I buy toys here and there, little things that I like or whatever, but I don't know. Like, I could buy a lot more. I mean, for the things that I'm like, because a lot of them are so mainstream. Like Star Wars, for example. Like, there's never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan if you like the stuff, because there's so much of it available now. And again, there's no grounding in reality. I mean, the only people who are buying this stuff are people who like the series in general. They don't know what the new movie's like. Nobody knows what the new movie's like except for a select group of people who are producing it. It could end up being just as bad as episode 1. one, you don't know. And I mean, in the case of Star Wars, it's J.J. Abrams, whose track record for interesting movies is about like this. You know what I mean? So
It's
whether or
up and
not whether or not he was the reason that Star Wars was such a crazy story, I don't know. Or Star Trek rather was such a crazy movie experience in 2009, I don't know. But I mean, he was involved with a lot of genre stuff that it's kind of been hit and miss. So I mean, you know what? More power to you if you think that this is a good thing to do, but I'm out. I don't think that I should have to spend every dollar that I own just to participate in the culture anymore.
You did see the Millennium Falcon has a square rectangle now instead of a circular one?
Are people getting mad about this on the internet? Are they, Robert? Oh. So that's it for this week. We are actually going to be in the process of getting guests to come on the show. Next week, we actually have someone who is pretty big in the cosplay scene here to come and talk about her experiences with making costumes and stuff. And we're actually hopefully going to be able to interview someone from C4 to talk about the marketing that they've come up with this idea of cosplay is not consent. So this is a movement that kind of started in some of the bigger conventions in the States, but they realized that a lot of people who were going to these conventions were harassing cosplayers. Like, they weren't treating them like normal people, they were treating them like objects, and thought that they could basically do whatever they wanted to these people just because they were dressed in costume. So from what I understand, C4 has always had anti-harassment policies in place to protect people who are doing it, but they're actually taking the extra step this year to promote it and to make sure that everybody's aware of it, and this is going to be a thing that is going to be happening going forward. So we're pretty excited about that. We're this weekend we're all going to go see The Martian, and so we'll be talking about
my
that.
tickets.
Yeah, you already bought. Oh wow!
I bought for the VIP theater today.
And I was going to talk about The Visit today, but Rob didn't get a chance to watch it. So The Visit is the latest M. Night movie.
M. Night Shyamalama Ramalama Ding Dong.
Yes, exactly.
I know who
and
he is.
It's a rousing tale, inspirational, about an older gentleman who decides that he wants to become the world's greatest Yahtzee player, and the effort that he actually puts in and the obstacles he has to overcome to.
Oh, you weren't making that up?
No, I'm completely making it up. It's a horror movie, but it's there's a Yahtzee scene in it, which was literally the best scene that I've seen in a movie this year. It was so funny, inappropriately funny, but we'll talk about it next episode for sure. So if you want to get in touch with us, you have some ideas for topics, or you want us to promote your event here in Winnipeg, or you'd like to be on the show, send us an email at mikeandrobshow@gmail.com. So the mikeandrobshow.email.com. We have a Facebook page, so it's Facebook/Mike and Rob Show, and our YouTube channel will be what you're watching right now. But if you want to
I'm
pass
on
it along
Twitter,
to Vince,
but you can ignore me on Twitter if you want.
I'm not on Twitter at all. I refuse to go on Twitter. You want to interact with Rob and have some fun there. I don't know if you want to share your personal Twitter on the show, but we don't have a show one.
We'll make sure that it's available.
And so the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Mike and Rob Show. We will be back next week, and I guess have a good week, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for checking us out. Have a great night.
This is a stupid thing to say. I'm going to say, let's start over. I'm just trying to wing something off the top of my head, and I don't actually have anything going on here. I don't know who's leading this.
I definitely started. Okay.
Yeah, you start it up. All right, so...